Dr. Gerald Schroeder. He has lived in Israel since 1971, immigrated, made Aliyah from the United States. He has a PhD, a doctorate that he got in 1965, a dual topic of nuclear physics and earth and planetary science. He is a prominent author and teacher today on the topic of God and science. And in fact, one of his books here that I'm looking at right now, it's called The Science of God. He has another one called The Hidden Face of God. And this is the one I hope we can spend the most time about. It's called God According to God. That's really exciting. His first book, though, was called Genesis and the Big Bang, and it was really revolutionary at the time. It was the first book on science in the Bible ever published by a major, really secular publishing house back in what was it, 1990 or something like that?
Yeah, along that time, yeah.
Wow. So that's actually really significant, because there were books like that, but they were always published by religious publishing houses. And this was published by a secular publishing house, this regular publishing house, and it's still in print today, you told me.
Yeah.
Which is unbelievable. You know, I'm an author as well, and I know that for most publishing setups, you know, the book is sold for 18 months, and then it becomes what they call a backlister, and it's, you know, in the discount pile, and then not even, and your book is still being sold and still being read by people, more importantly, after, oh wow, that's a long time.
25, yeah, it's
25
amazing.
years.
Yeah, it's
wow.
amazing.
That's amazing. But now let's talk about evolution.
Okay.
So, and this is, you know, this is the question for a lot of people that I speak to. They say, did God take dirt and blow into it the nishmat chaim, the neshama, the spirit of life, and, you know, into Adam, into the first man? That's really what it comes down to for a lot of people. Because if he didn't, then none of this matters. It's, you know, we don't have a soul.
Okay.
Yeah.
But if you look at Genesis chapter 1, the word creation appears only 3 times. The first sentence of the Bible, God creates the heavens and the earth. Okay? That gets the system going. Life appears on day 3. The word creation does not appear. Mm-hmm. On day 5, animal life appears also on day 5. In verse 20, it says God creates in a bunch of animals. You forget what the animals are. Most of the translations are wrong. But the word creation appears, bria. It's different from making and forming. Only
there's
God.
Yitzhar and there's Baras.
Yeah,
Two different words.
only God does.
So what's
creation.
the third one?
And the third one is verse 27. God creates the Adam. Thank you, Peggy Katz of Hawaii. God doesn't create Adam. God creates the Adam. The English misses it totally. In verse 26.
And what's the significance of that?
Well, because God, in verse 26, God says, let's make Adam.
Okay.
But in verse 27, God creates the Adam.
Which is?
The neshama. All of ancient commentary says there was only one physical creation. I want to make that clear. All of ancient commentary says there was one physical creation. Genesis chapter 1, verse 1. Mm-hmm. So what about Genesis chapter 1, verse 21, where God creates the animals? It can't be a physical creation. Nehemiah, so if it's not physical, it must be
metaphysical.
Must be metaphysical.
He whispered the answer. Okay. I think they heard that too.
Must be metaphysical. Metaphysical, the nephesh, the soul of animal life. It gives them a level of choice.
Okay.
Different from plants.
So he created some kind of sentient being, a dog that knew it was a dog or whatever it was, or a slug or whatever coming out. But it had some kind of consciousness, is what you're saying.
Yeah, choices.
And then for Adam, which you're saying the Adam, then he created for him a neshama. And what is neshama for those who don't know Hebrew?
Neshama would be the soul of humanity.
Okay.
I think the neshama knows what Jesus said was the most important sentence in the world.
He's an Orthodox Jew quoting Jesus.
What?
Everybody slow down. An Orthodox Jew quoting Jesus.
Because Jesus is quoting an Orthodox Jew.
Oh, okay.
Namely Jesus himself.
Okay.
And
all right.
Because the central statement, as my wife Barbara Sofer, a great writer, says, it's the Jewish Pledge of Allegiance. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 4.
Wow.
When the disciples asked Jesus, it's in Mark and Matthew, it's the most important sentence ever made. Jesus says the following. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one.
And that's the Shema. Shema Yisrael.
Hashem Eloheinu, Hashem, Lord our God, the Lord
Hashem Echad is, okay.
Lord,
wow.
One. Jesus quotes it, but Jesus was Jewish, so it's not surprising.
Okay.
So that's what the neshama knows. The neshama, Genesis.
The soul, the soul, not just the Jewish soul, the human soul, just to be clear.
Soul.
That every descendant of Adam has. And the 7 billion humans today, you're saying those 7 billion humans, they all have this neshama?
We are Homo sapiens sapien monotheistiums. If you want to have the that would be the neshama.
Okay.
That's the difference.
So that neshama, that soul, gives us the ability to recognize that the Lord is our God and the Lord is one. Yeah. What it says in Deuteronomy, what as you said, what Jesus said in Mark, And what every Jew today, I know certainly in my upbringing, that was what we were always taught. The last words that should be spoken upon your lips before you die is the Shema. And, you know, my father the Shema Yisrael, Hear O Israel, the Lord is our God, the Lord is one. I know my father who passed away a few years back, one of the things my sister who was with him shortly before, she said the Shema with him. And that was for our family a very, very deep and moving thing that, you know, this is something that's in the soul and heart of maybe of every human being.
And then the soul doesn't die. I have a whole book I'm writing on now about...
Wow. So there's another book coming out. What's that going to be called?
And this is based on neurology.
Okay.
What the neurologists have discovered the part of the brain that links to our... I'm not getting this at all, but to be clear. That links, that is a link from our physical body to our metaphysical body. These souls are metaphysical. They're not physical. You realize there's only one physical creation, Genesis chapter 1, verse 1. Yet the Bible says explicitly, God created the animal and God created the Adam. That neshama, that soul. Okay. That's what changed.
Interesting. So you're saying the second and third time the word bara appears, he's creating something metaphysical, not physical.
Absolutely.
And that's the nefesh of the animal and the neshama of the human being.
Yeah, but I didn't say that.
That was said by who?
Nachmanides said,
Maimonides. Okay, 1,000 or 800 years ago. Wow.
So Genesis chapter 2, verse 7, where God takes a lump of dirt. Adam comes from the root of Adamah.
Right.
You know, it's interesting. The animals are made from the Adamah also, but they're not called Adamah.
Okay.
Some dirt becomes microbes, more mutations, not random, more mutations develop, and finally you get to a being that looks just like Nehemiah.
But he doesn't have a neshama yet until God creates one for him.
Exactly. And then he becomes, and that's what, because the closing lines, words of chapter 2, verse 7, V'nefach le'ish v'hidam lenefesh chaya. You have to look at the closing lines. Man became a living soul.
So it says here, Vayitzer Hashem Elohim et ha'adam afar min ha'adama vayipach ba'apav nishmat chaim. Vayihi ha'adam lenefesh chaya, which means,
and vihi adam lenefesh. In the English translation, man became a living being, but the Hebrew vi'adam le is an L sound,
which means
nefesh,
he
became to a living being. Became to a living being, and the Lamed, we are told by these ancient commentators, shows a transition from a lesser to a higher.
And the significance of Adam in Genesis 2:7 becoming a human being is that he was given this soul. That's what you're saying.
And we date that by adding up the years, and it comes out to be 5776 is the year at the moment. You should know, in the British Museum, and the Science of God, I have 2 chapters on this. I'll tell you, and I'm going to say now in the strongest meaning of the word, thank God.
Yeah.
Barbara and I were lecturing in England just when the Science of God was going to final editing. We had a afternoon off, no lectures. We were lecturing back to back. We do it together. It's kind of fun, actually.
Yeah.
I went to the British Museum. I had no idea about what I'm about to say until then. And thank God I got in the book. Went to the Mesopotamian wing. And there was a section in the Mesopotamian called the earliest cities. And it describes on the wall, I'm showing to Nehemiah now a photograph of the plaque on the wall, which tells you what you're seeing in this entire wing, not a room, a wing.
Of the British Museum,
Science tells us, archaeology, that society changed so dramatically. 5,500 years ago, that the British Museum, now remember, the British are very active, we're talking about Mesopotamia here, you know, Iran, Iraq of today, changed so dramatically that the British Museum has an entire section that took place, and they date it 5,500 years ago.
Wow.
Sound familiar?
So you're saying, the 14 billion years of the universe would have been perceived as 6 days. Is that
no,
624
hours? 14 billion years of the universe would have been perceived by 14 billion years divided by 900 billion.
Which is 6 days?
5.5 days.
Okay.
No, don't say okay. It's pretty,
tell me
bloody phenomenal.
It is, but I'm not sure I understand it. So tell me in plain English one more time. You've got, because the universe is 900 billion times bigger than it was to begin with, therefore,
and the from the beginning of the clock, and the biblical perception or perspective of time for those first 6 days is from the beginning looking forward. I can't use my perception of time. My perspective.
Okay, so our perception of time today is that it was 14 billion years, but from the moment
Yes.
the universe was created, it would have been looked at forward as 5.5 or 6 days. 24-hour days.
Yeah, the irony is,
and you're saying it's not based on some doctrine or belief, but based on math, right?
Totally.
Okay, which you're not going to explain now because it's way too complicated, I'm sure.
No, it's 5 simple pages. JoeSchroeder.com, The Age of the Universe. It's an essay there, The Age of the
And there
Universe.
you have the mathematics for those who know math that they can confirm this.
It's a division.
Okay.
14 billion years divided by 900 billion.
Okay.
The zeros all drop out, and you got 14 years divided by 900.
Okay. Comes out to about 5.5 or 6 days.
No, you want to be. Well, the irony is, the embarrassment is, comes to be 5.5 days, because when does the biblical clock begin? When Adam is created.
Oh, which is in the middle of the 6th day.
Yeah, which comes out to be 5.5 days.